welcome to Hairyman, Hoaxes, and Hoodwinks. I'm so happy that you could all make it. And we have a great show tonight, and I've got some great panel members. And well, look at that. We've already got a lot of people in the chat. Thank you so much for coming to the first show. It means a lot to me. And I don't know what to say. You guys are great support. And let's get on with bringing my panel members on. So first, we have Mr. Jerry Matthews. Welcome from West Coast Sasquatch Research Podcast.
Hello, El Paso from the West Coast of Canada. How are you tonight, Nikki?
I'm good. I'm nervous as heck. I don't know why. I've been on a million of these things. But
yeah, but it's your name on the check this time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's great to be with you, Nikki. I'm honored that you are having me on with you tonight. Looking forward to it.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate you coming on. Let's go ahead and bring on Miss JC. And you're muted. Oh, there you go. Welcome. She's a biologist out of Colorado. She's done tons of research on human health care, and has a great insight to the way people think and what they do and how they react. And I brought her on because she's a great question asker. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I like to make a little joke that asking questions is my superpower.
It's a great superpower. It really is. You've come full steam into the Bigfoot community, and we all appreciate that.
Thank you very much for including me.
You're welcome. And my next guest, Mr. Thomas Steenberg. Welcome. Sasquatch researcher from BC. We all know and love.
Hi, Nikki. You're way down there and way down in Texas, are you?
Yes, I am. I'm in El Paso right now, but I've always been in the Southwest.
Oh, cool. That amazes we can talk face to face these days like this so far apart.
Yes. Yeah, it's great. It's
all I have to do is sit here, light up old Krakatoa, and talking about Sasquatch. Yeah.
Oh, let's see if I can get on.
No wise Krakatoas from you, Thomas.
Okay, we are going to talk about something that has been in the community for a long time. Hoaxes.
No.
We all hate them, and they keep coming. What's going on? Well, what's going on is the availability and the ease of misrepresenting themselves. And over the years, I've seen it happen over and over, the same things over and over. And I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't think we're calling out enough of this stuff. There's a lot of new people in the community, and I think they need to know where to go to find answers, or at least know who to go ask about certain things. So, I mean, we've got a lot of people out there who are doing great jobs at debunking, like Phil Poling and Tony, Bigfoot Tony, and all, Tri-Diver. You can just go on and on with people who are debunking, or at least coming up with questions. And that's what I want, is questions, So tonight we're going to be talking about a gentleman called, well, I don't know if he's a gentleman, but Mark Anders, and his photos that have been going around Facebook like crazy. And they do every year, every couple years, they always pop up. But this is the one that we're talking about tonight. It is going around steady. And the comments that I've been seeing with this photo they really took me aback. And that's what made me we want to say, hey, wake up. There is so much information about this photo and other of his photos that I wanted to let people know about it. So, okay. And here's my last guest coming on tonight. Maybe my last guest. I don't know. We'll see. But now we've got Brent Dill, the tall ones, coming in from the Pacific Northwest. Hi, Brent.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Congratulations on your new show. It's exciting and much needed. Look forward to all the future episodes you got planned.
Great. Thank you. All the support, all this information, and all. I didn't even show you. There you are.
Woohoo!
It's already out there. Information from this person and that one and somebody else, and I wanted to bring it all together, whatever I could find. Mm-hmm. So that's what this is going to be about. It's not me making up stuff. Yes, Thomas.
Yeah, Nikki, people should realize that if you want to be a researcher in this field of study, you're not only trying to find evidence for the creature's existence, it's also part of your job to expose blatant hoax attempts. I mean, after all, we're supposed to be individuals trying to find an answer to a mystery. We are not religious leaders trying to push a faith. Okay? And so when hoaxing, there's one, as far as I know, and it's always been the case since the late 70s, there was always one golden rule for researchers in this business. Thou shalt not hoax. Not ever. Not even as a joke. Okay? And once you do, well, we have long memories. Okay? Now, a lot of this stuff that we're going to cover tonight is actually hoaxes by other people, and it was just other people unknowingly presenting it. But we'll find out. I'd like to find out more, and I believe the one we're talking about first here tonight is actually not just photographs, but video footage, is it not?
Well, yeah, it looks like video footage, but it's in my opinion, I'll be able to demonstrate that I feel it's well-crafted CGI footage.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. So these are the photos that I just showed. This was the one that's recently been going around. And this one also has a little bit of motion to it as well. But I'm just going to run through a couple of the same Bigfoot. Okay. It's the same one. These are the same Bigfoot. They're manipulated. Okay. A little bit here and there. But they're the same.
They are.
Well, people are going to say, well, that face doesn't match. Of course it's not. It's CGI. He can make changes to the face, to the body very easily.
These aren't test footage of some movie being made or something, is it?
No. My findings is that Mark Anders has got a history with being a computer generated imagery specialist. And a lot of his background contains that type of work. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's had websites, and some websites I couldn't even find. I couldn't find them again. But I remember this is so old. We're talking 7 years ago when this guy first started putting out materials, like 2012 to 2014. And back then we looked to find the answers and found a lot more than I have now. Back then, I was able to find several of his websites up, including some that where he sold prints. He made CGI videos and stuff, and then he would sell prints off of that. And he had all the different zoo animals. Any zoo animal you could think of, he had on his website.
So there's Mark Anders there. This is his footage. It's not something he's presenting.
Yes.
Given to him by somebody else.
This is his footage, and he's got how many videos did I find?
368.
There you go. Yeah. We had a well.
Easy boy.
I sent
Okay.
I didn't send you, Thomas, because I wasn't sure if you were coming on tonight, but I sent the rest of the panel all his channel and everything, which I'm going to bring
okay.
up.
Well, that's big red flag number 1 right there.
And let's just see if I can get this going here.
We're not telling tales out of school here. He is, from the little I know about him, he is quite proud of his work, his CGI work.
Yes.
He's
very good.
pretty well of the
Yes.
opinion that he can put anybody's head on anybody's body and it would look quite natural.
Right,
So,
exactly.
you know, I mean,
I'm just glad Todd Standing didn't find him.
it's never too late.
So let's see. Are you guys seeing his channel up yet?
It says Mark Anders channel. So,
Oh, well, I mean, well, his
Oh, I'm
big
sorry,
actual-
823. I got the numbers all mixed around. 823.
Well, what I'm trying to do is share, but it's not.
I had no idea he put out that much. Like I said, big red flag number 1 right there.
Yeah,
Let me see if I
exactly.
can do
His
this again.
channel has 37 million views in total, or 34 million views in total. One of the two.
Well, that's why he's doing it.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the ad revenue, you generate about $1,000 to $2,000 for every million views that you get.
I see. Okay, well, I think we just explained it.
Let
At
me
least
see.
in my opinion, yeah.
Well, now I can't get my share to work. I wonder if I had it open too long. Let's see.
that's okay. Let's just sing a bunch of Beatle melodies until it's all straightened out. We all live in a yellow submarine, everybody, in E flat. Okay. There you go. I want you on my show.
Well,
Um,
while
By the way,
Nikki,
that was Nikki singing, not me.
well, how about
Okay.
while Nikki, do you have it figured
Well,
out? Because I do have
well-
a question for the guys.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I try to get. I don't know why it's not coming up now. Of course.
So I would like to get an explanation of hoaxing in your view, what hoaxing is in your view, since in my world it's called falsifying data and it makes you a liar. So I'm really curious how you guys see hoaxing. We all know why they do it. They're rewarded either with money, attention, or both, right? That's why this all goes on.
In my opinion, hoaxing is claiming that an image or view or a story is something, knowing full well that it is not.
Yeah, the act of deception.
Yeah.
Intentional deception. Yeah. Hoaxing, lying, it's kind of almost one and the same. You can almost use them interchangeably.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the Bigfoot Sasquatch community refers to it as hoaxing. And I think part of the reason it goes on and on and on is because it's not dealt with directly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, JC, you're absolutely correct. But I would branch off and say that hoaxing and misidentification are running these days neck to neck and poorly investigated, shall we say. Poorly investigated. I mean, we'll probably be talking about them later on, but I mean, New Year's Day hoax, a Memorial Day hoax, Silver Star hoax, Marble Mountain hoax, they're all almost identical. And it's not really a hoax, any of them. They're just misidentified, that's all. But you get an investigator that, I know Brett's probably going to talk about this later on too, but you get an investigator that comes in with his own bias and writes up a report suggesting that you should believe this is an actual Sasquatch or Bigfoot sighting. That's a part that comes to play in this as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Hoaxing is just lying intensified.
Yeah, bottom line, yeah.
Yeah, well, you also have the unintentional self hoaxer, where like you were kind of talking about earlier, where they aren't very good at investigation. They believe something wrong or came across something wrong, and they present it as wrong. And those, I mean, they're not really hoaxers, like with the intent to deceive, but it's the unintentional
But it's very borderline.
Yeah,
It's
it really
very
is. Yeah.
borderline.
Especially when somebody will come to you and show you information to get you on that other side, to get you on the right side of the border there, and they dismiss it. And that's when it starts going into, okay, maybe this isn't as unintentional as we thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Right.
I kind of look at it. A lying is when one individual is trying to convince one individual that something is true that he knows is not. A hoaxer is trying to convince all kinds of people that something is true when they know very well that it's not.
Yeah.
Like I said, a liar intensified. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean,
See-
if you look at the product of Marble Mountain or whatever, they beat that poor horse to death, and
Mhm.
nobody believed it was a Sasquatch, but a certain faction just wouldn't let go of it. And Silver Star was much the same. And
with Silver Star, I did some investigation on it. There's a lot left out, which seemed like it was intentional. If you read the BFRO report, it reeks of priming. When you read it, it's like, oh, they're just planting all these seeds for you to do all this, or to get this opinion. And then when you look into the Silver Star, it's like the way they investigated it originally, and with finding Bigfoot, it just seems like they intentionally didn't do a good job in order to leave it ambiguous so that it can better fit the Bigfoot narrative. And because it's like they didn't bother to mention that's close to a hiking trail, that it's a go-to spot for photography, and that view that Bigfoot was looking at was like a majestic view that's really sought after because it has all these different volcanoes in it. And they left all this stuff out, and they said it wasn't accessible at that time, and when it really was, and because you can actually go see the hiking reports on, when you research, you can go see hiking reports of people doing it at all times of the year and stuff, and just information they intentionally left out.
And what they did put into the report was very misleading. It was very misleading. The things I mean, look, here's the report right here. If this was a government document, 60% of it would be redacted. It would be blanked out because, red flags galore all over. We'll talk about it later on if you want. It's red flags right from the get-go. And that is where the hoodwink thing comes in, because it's misidentification. It's not anyone purposely trying to hoax. It's just somebody playing political games to get you to, come over to their side of what they say happened here.
Yeah, because I totally believe the photographer that originally took those pictures. I generally believe his story. He never came out and said, "Hey, this is Bigfoot." He thinks it might be Bigfoot and stuff, but I don't believe this was an intentional hoax. It's just somebody who was out hiking and saw something up there, and it was like, "Oh, what's that?" And people provided the desired evidence to help support that, which was BFRO.
Right.
We got a similar case in this area there, Brent, the Hoover Lake video, that's still running the gauntlet on YouTube, and guys like Thinker Thunker thinks to Sasquatch and stuff like that. Whereas I know it's a man by the name of Brandon Pollock, is 6'5", and he was out in the lake that day collecting firewood, and he was wearing dark pants, a dark hoodie, and a small dark backpack on. He said that was me they filmed. Now, if the people up on the road who shot that video really thought they were looking at something strange and filming, and I could see why they thought that way, then it is just a case of misidentification. But if they intentionally edited their video so you didn't see Brandon get back in his boat and paddle across the lake, then it's a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one or the other. Yeah.
Right. I mean, with the Silver Star thing, if I may continue to beat a dead horse for a moment, with the Silver Star thing, they even make comparison. I mean, it's like you're not convincing the jury, so you got to ramp it up a bit. So they start making comparisons with Silver Star, with Marble Mountain, with the Manitoba footage. I mean, my God, the worst footage ever created. I mean, the first time I saw the Manitoba footage, I thought, it's a guy in hip waders fishing. And everybody I've talked to since then totally agreed. And yet it's still brought up as a Sasquatch sighting. So for them to compare Silver Star to Marble Mountain to the Manitoba footage, I mean, that's pretty weak. That's pretty lame,
Well, it's the Bigfoot influencers that really help push that narrative along. And like, I know, and I like Bobo and Cliff and stuff, but they truly believe that the silver star here is a Bigfoot. That's what they're looking at, and
a lot of people do. And the only reason I could see it from the angle and the distance they were from the subject why someone would think that. But they also leave out the fact that's a very popular ridge and a very popular hiking area. And if you go, all you have to do is go on YouTube, and you can find a dozen pictures of a dozen different people on that same spot.
Yeah.
It's convinced. Look at that head, but it could totally be a jacket.
Yeah,
well, that's it. That's it, Nikki. You see, if you look at the blow up of that, they purport that the creature or person is facing you in that shot. So if he is facing you, wait. If he is facing you, but if you look at it, Thomas, they got one, they show this is the left hand, this is the right hand, this is the left leg, the right leg, and blah, blah, blah. But that only works if it's facing you. They say, okay, look at the sagittal crest and everything. But if it is turned away, looking away from you, it looks like a hood. You know, it's whatever you want it to be. It's so vague.
That's why the initial priming is really important to understand. Like with the BFRO report, if you read that, it just reeks of they're trying to say it's a Bigfoot, but not saying it. And it's that priming that really we all have to kind of be aware of not to fall trapped to, where we don't take it for face value. We go investigate it ourselves. We go look on Google Earth. We find out that there's close hiking trails and stuff. We do the due diligence of, finding out if it's a hoax or not, or if it's true.
Right.
The part that got me is that the reporter, the BFRO field rep that handled this, I don't know him or anything about it, but it seemed like he just mailed it in, basically. He was enticing other people to come up there with their cameras and reenact it and, prove it. Like, that's your work, man. You should be up there trying to reenact it and prove it, if you're so solidly behind what you're documenting here. But no, it was right from the beginning. It was, it was mailed in. It was mailed in.
Yeah, well, I talked to the Bigfoot BFRO investigator that dealt with this, with the initial report, and I think he truly believes it's a Bigfoot. He believes the guy a lot. I think that they're even friends, which could affect his judgment and with his conclusion. And he's also seen Bigfoot too, so he knows that they exist. So that there could also cloud his judgment with just going straight to, oh yeah, that's got to be a Bigfoot. That's a Bigfoot. There's that inherent bias that you get even being a knower, and you could still be wrong.
Most definitely. Myself and Thomas and Bill Reed spoke about that on one of our podcasts. And, the question I asked Bill Reed, because this applied to him, your brother-in-law came to you and said he had this. Bill is a skeptic. He doesn't believe in Sasquatch. Let's get that straight. But his brother-in-law came to him and told him about an encounter that him and another person had on a logging road with a Sasquatch. And he was very disappointed that Bill sort of didn't believe him because, you know the story even better than I do, Thomas. But, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, Bill Reed is an open-minded skeptic, and he says because he doesn't accept the existence of the Sasquatch, he's basically explanation to his brother-in-law was, I don't know what you saw. I have no explanation for it. But his brother-in-law took offense to that, and is still basically angry at Bill every time the subject comes up, because he basically translate what Bill is saying to him as, you're calling me a liar. But Bill is not doing that at all. He's just basically saying, I don't know what you saw. I believe you saw something, but there could be other explanations for what you saw.
Yeah, it's a completely
different. My question to Bill, I'm sorry, just make this brief point. My question to Bill was, is it easier or harder to debunk somebody who somebody say who's related to you or you know them very well, compared to debunking a total stranger's report? That was what I asked Bill, and that's what he came back with.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I'm interested, since it's Nikki's show, to hear what she has to say about this. JC, you seem to be muted again. I see the little mute.
Oh, there she goes.
Oh, there she is.
I have kitties who think this is fascinating and are making as much noise as possible.
I have kitties that are locked outside at the moment. Little office helpers that crawl all over in front of you, like Leon's cat.
Yeah, my cat already let himself in, so that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, Nikki, welcome to the make a statement or
that's
two.
why I brought us together to talk about this. This is what I wanted. This was my intention.
Mm-hmm.
Is to put it out there and let's talk about it. I want to hear the rest of the story.
By the way, we've never met formally.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Yeah, you too. I watched all your videos, your podcast, and amazing. Love it.
Oh, I knew there was somebody out there. Thank you. Your $5 is in the mail.
Thank you.
And it's American, not that funny Canadian stuff.
I don't want to lose money in the conversion rate there.
So listen, there's a lot of hoodwinks out there. There's a lot of misidentifications, and that's what I want to call them. I don't want to call them a hoax. Mm-hmm. They just are what they are, and they penetrate the community, and it's filled with them.
Yeah. But the unfortunate reality, Nikki, especially nowadays with the internet and everything, hoaxing or lying, whatever you want to call it, has really reached epidemic proportions.
Well, it's so easy because there is no true checks or balance.
Well, I think it's also the age that we live in, of the social media age, because it's like the TikTok effect, where everybody's trying to get some internet clout or get some internet attention, doing various things, and there's no difference between that what you see on TikTok with all those people versus what you see in the Bigfoot community. It's all basically, you get the same desired effect and results that people want, and it's just one of those things where the more we talk about it, the more we can understand it, and the less people will actually fall for it.
Yeah,
right.
But you got to kind of remember, especially dealing with if you're not dealing with researchers or anyone, for lack of a better term, in the Sasquatch community, you're dealing with a witness. You always got to remember that when you're talking to them, there's only 3 possibilities. Only 3. 1, they saw a Sasquatch. 2, they mistook something or someone for a Sasquatch. Or 3, they're lying. Those are the only 3 possibilities. So there is no in between. And if the Sasquatch doesn't exist and never did, then every damn one of them is in category 2 or 3. Either they mistook something for what they think they saw, or they're all lying.
Yeah.
And that is the reality.
That's just the way. That's the nature of the beast. You're always going to have those hardcore believers in the very first thing they see or hear or anything on the internet. You're going to have them.
Yeah.
They're not going to question it. It's there.
So Nikki, you're going to be very old and very gray doing this show.
Already. I had a lot of.
You're putting it now.
I was like, oh my God, this is why I didn't do a show. There's a lot of prep into doing a show, And of course, this is, I haven't done my own show in quite a while. So there's a lot of new little gizmos on here that I'm like, oh. Okay, but anyway, let's get back, because now I know how to bring on this Mark Anders character and his website. And as you can see, his website has a lot of CGI material already on it. Okay. He has even got material where, let's see if I can bring up this glorious one down here.
Well, let's take it a step back first. That Mark Anders isn't even a real person, too. So, I mean,
Well,
person,
Mark Anders has many aliases. I found Mark Anders. I found Max Out. I found a link to some foreign name. I found, but I can't really substantiate that that is exactly him. Right now, all I can find is info on the actual Mark Anders. There's a lot of links and stuff like that, but there's really, unless you have you actually know who he is. I mean, all I can say is this is the person that I researched was on this line of people, and he also has another. Well, he has had many sites, but off of this one, he had another one called the Built Report. And it was about bodybuilding stuff, a lot of bodybuilding stuff, but he had some of the same type of morphing stuff on there. And he also has his own t-shirt shop. I don't know if it's going to bring it up or not. Let me see. I might have to stop and then reshare.
So he's gone full monetization to the point where he doesn't look at it as hoaxing. He just looks at it as creating content to make money off of.
Yes. Yeah. So to me, that was the whole goal. The whole goal from the very beginning was just clicks and views so that he could make money.
Mm-hmm.
And it all really goes towards that as well. You know, his videos, it goes on and on in regards to.
So what are your thoughts about him being the owner of the NBTV YouTube channel?
Well, I didn't find that.
Well, I was just curious your thoughts about it because it seems to use a lot of his stuff.
It's very similar. The way the videos are put together is very similar to his material. But to me, this guy would put his name on it. Mm-hmm. To me, anyway.
There's a channel like this in the UFO community called Secure Team 10, and he just got outed for hoaxing. Like, got obviously caught, but reminds me a lot of the Mark Anders NVTV channel, where it's just, you know, it's just you could tell it's just kind of an act in a way.
Right. And don't be fooled. I mean, he labeled his stuff the Mexican Bigfoot, the Idaho Bigfoot, the Texas Bigfoot, Florida Bigfoot, the LA, the South Carolina, the Georgia, the Arizona, the Ape Canyon, and the New York. I mean, he's the
luckiest person in the world to get all this Bigfoot evidence.
Right. And none of his videos rarely go over 3 minutes. They're a minute and a half, 2.5 minutes long. That's about it. Because
so how do you fight something like that? I mean, look, CGI and the development of CGI. Most hour-long TV programs today have more CGI in them, as you well know, than the hit movies back in the 90s. I mean, it's advancing at such a rapid pace. Who's going to be the expert on this end that says, nah, that looks like a CGI to me?
Well, it might
just be putting it out there.
It might be tougher, but you can always investigate the source of the video, the person, the investigator. That is where you can get a lot of your clues on, you know, if it's a real video or not. I mean, I've been able to debunk so much stuff just by, you know, not really looking at the video, but just more of the person and what they're presenting and how they're doing it and catching them in their little lies and deception and stuff. So that's a good way.
That's all foraging. He's looking for food. He's trying to sustain himself.
Okay, watch this.
And this is Bigfoot. It looked like he's foraging. We have several videos.
Bigfoot is always foraging. Every picture we get, every video we get, Bigfoot is foraging. It's a large creature.
That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. He's not always foraging. Sometimes he's roaming in the woods. Sometimes he's staring in the air. Sometimes he's motioning to someone that's in the bushes or a fellow creature.
And what
can manipulate CGI?
Foraging.
That's
all foraging. That's looking for food. He's trying to sustain himself. That's a massive creature.
There's bamboo to the left of Bigfoot.
So like his distant cousin, the koala bear, he's eating the bamboo.
Well, I would say more like gorillas eat stalks of bamboo, and they're vegetarians mainly.
I didn't know gorillas ate bamboo. I thought it was just
wherever it's available.
I think this guy's morphing is amazing.
Well, all we can really do is basically anything comes out Sasquatch wise, by one Mark Anders is probably thrown out.
Yeah, but the thing is people repackage his evidence as their own sometimes, or repurpose it as something else, and it gets passed along, and it's the next big craze. I mean, we just saw that one picture, those pictures rip through the Bigfoot community. It's like, geez, not this one again.
Yeah, and that was always my reaction.
Yeah,
is that again?
I get the same thing every time the massacre of Bluff Creek comes up.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So
we could do a whole show on that one.
Listen, anybody can go and find the information if they want to, but people, like I said before, they want to believe. They want to so badly believe that that's the picture. That's the Bigfoot that is going to change everything. It's going to be better than the P&G.
You hit the nail on the net, right on the head there, Nikki. There are a lot of people who just want to believe. Me, I'm a researcher. I want to know. I want to know, does this creature exist or not, one way or the other. But there are a lot of people who, they're just like, when they see this stuff, nothing we do will ever make a difference to them. It's all hallelujah. There's more Sasquatch evidence, and they love being on that merry-go-round that never ends.
But for somebody like me, this doesn't mean anything to me, because the Patterson-Gimlin film means nothing to me. I never base my interest in Sasquatch or Bigfoot on the Patterson-Gimlin film. It was an initiator, maybe a primer to get me involved with all of this. But I mean, if it was proven a hoax tomorrow, I couldn't care less. It wouldn't change anything as far as I'm concerned.
And that's really important, is to not get the emotional connection, attachment to this evidence and to these researchers. Because when you do, you're just not going to be able to let that go and really kind of fully see it for what it is. And you're just going to be, on the wrong side of the line, I guess,
Amen, brother.
Yep. So, Nikki, what are you showing us? We've kind of got ourselves, because we have so much to talk about.
Right.
You have a nice group of people here. So I want to make sure that we cover what you have planned, because I know that you put effort into that. So if you could lead us through what you'd like us to see and what you'd like us to discuss, that would be awesome.
Right. Well, it's all along the same lines. I mean, he's got umpteen videos of the same Sasquatch, a little bit changed, and that's his MO. That's what he does. Okay. He morphs. He changes things with CGI, and he posts them, and he commentates on them as if somebody sent that material in. Okay. It's always somebody else's material that's sent in to him. And he makes that quite clear on all of his stuff. So it's not, how do I say, it wasn't going to change. It was just to get as much videos out there as possible.
Well, 823 is a lot.
Yeah. Put them out there as fast as you can, because he wanted to get those numbers up. And I have a feeling he didn't get the numbers he wanted, and which is why he ended up stopping, because, we haven't seen anything from him in quite a long time. I think he just moved on to his muscle building stuff. And that's where he went with that. But, let me see if I can change this now and stop this. This is you have to turn off this and turn on that crap. Okay.
Mark Anders should really stop wasting his time doing what he's doing and sending an application to Pixar Pictures.
That's maybe where he got his job at and why he quit doing those. I actually sent him a message, to kind of chat about it, just to get some more insight, and didn't accuse him of anything or whatever. Just try to learn more. Maybe he's more open to discussing it, like Rick Dyer would be more open to discussing why he did the hoax, why he thought he can get away with it. And that insight, I think, is incredibly insightful for us to learn. Because
the boy has talent. I'll give him that.
Sure does.
Oh, yeah.
he exposed the Bigfoot community, their weakness on what's really truly wrong on how gullible we can be, and he exposed it beautifully. And of course, he hoaxed, but
right. Well, here's the Built report. This is another one of his sites that he always tags onto his Bigfoot stuff. Okay, because he was always listing this and his Jurassic Gorilla brand, the T-shirts, along with this on most of his stuff, and it's just the same crap,
well, it's money for him because he gets the ad revenue off that, and he has all these. I bet you he has a bunch more that we don't even know about, and doing a bunch of other stuff too, where he's just monetizing people's interest and really giving them what they want, and so it's this circular type of relationship.
Right. And that will lead you to his Facebook page as well. So let's stop sharing that and do another one.
What do you think, Thomas? Do we look more like the Muppet Show or the Brady Bunch? Sorry, carry on.
As long as you don't cast me as Alice, I think it's pretty cool.
So, and his regular site, his regular Facebook page even has some of his morphing stuff, his human species, Philippine stuff. I mean,
like I said, the morphing is fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a master. He's a master.
Yeah, he does really, really good work, and like I say, I don't think he's intentionally wants to be a, I don't know. He's like a hoaxer, but different. I don't think he views it as hoaxing. I think he views it as just a monetary gain.
He's pretty, even his older videos were mixed up with all these things. And I watched some videos on his channel that were labeled Georgia because of our Pat, right, over on Scratch Talk. And I thought, well, this will be interesting. Bigfoot is Georgia. It was all him and his co-host talking about how amazing they are. But they're not talking about how amazing they are. It just happens to be that they're talking about how amazing they are. And I thought, this guy is like an egomaniac. And so I looked through a few things. Not only does he do this stuff, but he's blatant that it's hoaxing. It's in your face hoaxing. And I bet this guy's totally laughing up his sleeve all these people who don't do their homework and are mistakenly or maybe even foolishly eating it up with a spoon. And I think he probably finds it hilarious that he's doing this to people. Very big ego on this guy.
I agree. I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
This one is actually dated 2018.
Is that a picture?
Let's see what it is. No, it's a video, 3 minutes. Oh, it's not moving though. It's just stationary.
Yeah, it seems like his channel went dormant when his YouTube channel did, or his Facebook channel page.
Yeah, see, there's his Built report and Jurassic Gorilla again on there.
Yeah, you see, when I first saw that Idaho footage, my first thought was, how come it's edited so strangely?
Right.
How come parts were taken out in between where it's actually at one position on that opening, and obviously it crossed over to another, and yet all the footage in between was conveniently gone. I mean, that was the first red flag. The biggest red flag is when you told me he's got 300 or something. Right there. So now basically this guy, I'll never take anything he puts out again seriously again.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. But again, I'm not the one he's aiming at. He's aiming at people who just want to believe anything they see so badly. And the fortunate reality is there's always going to be an audience for stuff like this, especially an audience for somebody with this much talent to do this much work into it.
And yeah, he has, I mean, for a short period of time, he put a lot of effort into into doing that a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and then sporadic he throws something in there.
We're fortunate that this person's so blatant, obvious about it. It's the ones that aren't so blatant that are getting biased are the ones that you gotta kind of look a little closer at.
Right.
Well, and this guy was clearly never really out in the woods. One of the videos talked about that they were, searching around. I think they were in San Diego. So they're doing their intensive research around San Diego and, hey, it's so active and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I can't look. It's that place where you need brain bleach, right? And so, but it did make me think. I mean, and it's not specific to this guy because I don't think he really went out and did anything. But there are folks that unfortunately go out, and whether they know it or not, they are encouraging this whole thing where every noise you hear, every shadow that's out there, every movement, every animal, everything is a Bigfoot. And what that's doing is getting people who are vulnerable to react with dopamine hits. It's just like people who go to scary movies. Scary movies are out there for a reason. It's because it pulls dopamine up. And much of what goes on, and I call it the Bigfoot circus, because it is a circus. Much of what goes on is really nothing to do about Bigfoot at all, nothing to do with history, nothing to do with actual boots on the ground research. It's all about harvesting dopamine hits online. Why? Because there's money to be made and there's attention to be harvested. That's it. So it becomes that signal to noise problem. And so I would say, the really important thing here, and to your point of doing this channel, you got to get the information out there so that people who are able to think enough to go, hey, this doesn't seem right to me, and go looking could find something on hoaxes. But it's kind of like if you guys, I don't know how long reality TV's been on, but there are people who believe what goes on in reality TV has some connection with reality. It has no connection with reality. So if people are eating that up with a spoon, why wouldn't they eat this up with a spoon? I mean, it's just, their own foolishness gets them caught in a trap. So you have to kind of decide, where do you want to put your time and energy? Where do you want to invest? Right?
Yes, I agree. I 100% agree. What can we do as a community, to help lessen this type of activity? I don't know.
You're doing it right now, Nikki. You're doing it right now, Nikki, with Hairyman, Hoaxes, and Hoodwinks.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you have to start with a platform somewhere. What we're dealing with here is something, we're at loggerheads here, so to speak. We're coming from us outward. We're coming from the stance of a researcher, an enthusiast, somebody who really wants to solve the mystery. And we're running into a lot of backwash from people who don't give a damn about the mystery. They just want a good monster story. And that's the only reason they hang around. That is why there are so many Sasquatch and Bigfoot sites on the internet, because they just can't get enough fixes. They want a scary movie. They don't care if Sasquatch exists or not. You often said that yourself, Thomas. They don't really care. I mean, about the woo crowd and everything. They don't care if Sasquatch exists or not. They're high. They're getting their high just off the feedback and everything they get from this. It's like I said before. I mean, is Sasquatch world in need of a psychologist or something, or a psychiatrist? Because I think it really is. It really is. There are mental problems at issue here. Leon will be a good one to yak about that. But I mean, we're fighting a foe that does not recognize us. Can we put it that way? That's what's happening here. Well, but it's gratifying to see. I'll just say this and shut up again. I know I got a big mouth. I'll just say this, that, shows like Nikki's, Pat's, Sean, today. Hey, if I quickly give a shout out to Joe over at Western New York Bigfoot. He had his podcast on today, and he should be watching tonight too. Joe, fantastic show. Enjoyed every moment of it. My man, we think alike. Another brother but a different mother, whatever. Yeah.
A very good show. Yes.
A very good show, man. Should be proud of yourself. You carry 90 minutes by yourself, man, you're racist in my book. I know how that's not easy. And but that's it. We're fighting against. We're not. We're not on an even playing ground here. What do you think, Nikki?
We're not on an even playing ground, but it's happened for so long, and it's become second nature that this is the way it seems to be going in this big circle. You come into the community, you get excited, you start watching all the videos you can find. You want to believe in them so badly. And from there, it just goes on and on. You're watching all these people. But to me, you need to learn that if you see anything suspect or you see something that's not right, move on. If you find somebody you don't like, just move on. Because there's thousands of channels out there that are really great.
So, Nikki, it's really funny because you just took a word that was in my mind, and that is the word suspect. And I will tell you, anybody who is charging you on Patreon or some subscription to listen to their stories, stop today. It's bull crap. They're manipulating you. So if you see somebody who's doing that, no, will that guy keep subscription if they tell the truth? Or will that guy have subscriptions at what, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever, and get more and more people hooked if they tell ridiculous dopamine creating stories? I think we can figure that out, right? So I would say, for thinking people, step back, be aware of what you're doing, because people who are charging you are extremely suspect.
Yeah. Especially if they've already been caught hoaxing.
True story. And by the way, anybody who wants you to pay to go out in the woods, I've even seen some crazy stuff online in one of the groups where it was, hey, for $500, I'll take you out in the woods and show you Bigfoot. And if we don't see Bigfoot, I'll give you half your money back. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to kill people. They're either like a crazy killer, or they're going to harm somebody. I mean, you're going to end up in a trunk in a bag.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you said it great with the word suspect there, JC, but we're kind of saying the same thing every time we say, oh, that's a red flag.
Yeah, I say red flags when I have people where there's behaviors which are concerning to me. I wish them well, but I see one red flag, I pay attention. I see 2, 3, 4, this girl's out. I'm out. And
that's what I say.
And I step out.
Red flags. You got to pay attention.
Yeah, those red flags are really hard to see and articulate and process when you are stuck in a belief system, and that's the hard part is like I use me as an example. I was that person when coming into the community where, I just wanted to see a Bigfoot. What do you guys got? Show me, and I was completely disappointed to the point where nothing what I thought it was. And it's a hard road to navigate sometimes.
It is. Yeah, it is. But at some point, something's got to crack. People have to come together and say and agree. The more people that agree or know about these things going on, the more they can teach other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got tired of seeing the same pictures and putting, that's fake, that's this person, that's Mark Anders Bigfoot, and then they want to go, well, how do you know that, where post this and that, and they want me to do all their research for them.
Absolutely.
Which now I'm doing.
The quote you got up right now says it pretty good too, from Western New York there. Some people only want the story because the truth isn't as interesting to them.
Yeah, as Mark Twain said, when the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's that dopamine hit that people are seeking. They're looking for that. And by the way, it's a momentary change in state, but people are so desperate to change their internal state from what it really is for them that they totally buy in. And we've made it so easy in online, and Nikki and Brent, I think you may have seen when I said this recently somewhere, where there's so much information out there. It's a buffet. You go through and you pick and choose all these things you can toggle together, throw in some duct tape, some, glitter so it sparkles, right?
Oops,
And
sparkles.
off you go. And we've made it so easy for people to be foolish, either foolish doing it or foolish buying it. Very easy. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs.
It's complicated.
And I'm not one for dogging or being down on people trying to make a buck with Bigfoot. Okay.
No.
I'm not that type of person. If you can make $1 on Bigfoot selling product, t-shirts, whatever, go for it. Say, hey, you do this. I'm doing this, selling t-shirts and hats, and they're cute. I'm going to buy them. I love that crap.
Hey, there's a lot of people out there that you want to have t-shirts because we don't want to see them upper body naked. We just don't. So t-shirts are good in my mind.
And there's a lot of people think that they are bringing themselves down and not being credible by doing that. Now selling subscriptions just to see their videos and stuff, that's kind of a different thing. But for people who just have regular channels and are selling stuff, hey, if you can make $1 or $2, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love
I
to
don't
be
have
able
a
to
problem
make
with that.
I'd love to be able to make $1 or $2, but I can't. And actually, I really don't want to. All these podcasts that I do cost me money every month. I mean, you got to pay for server time. You've got, because my podcasts are on both podcast systems and on YouTube at the same time. They're released exactly simultaneously. And it just costs me money. But that's okay. I don't mind. I don't want to charge anybody any money for anything. I'm just sharing with them some information that I have, and that's good enough for me. But as for someone else making $1, hey, go for it.
Well, here's the thing is, we need money to research Bigfoot, and we're all funded and everything, and I think that a real focus should be is we should understand how other people are like outside the Bigfoot community, how research funding is done, how the accountability is done, and JC could probably talk a lot on this, and how that whole thing is done. Because if we could, get funding to the right people and have an accountability, we might be able to make progress with it. But I think it's all how we approach it, and I'm all for us individuals, channels selling like shirts and anything to help us with our own investigation. But maybe to take the next step, we should start talking about how research funding is done in the real world, and maybe we can apply it to Bigfoot.
Absolutely.
So if you wouldn't mind, Nikki, can you put Pat Squatch Talks all caps back up about the 10,000 websites?
Oh yeah.
Or I'm sorry, 10,000. I'm not sure.
Tribes.
Fires.
Fires.
I think that he makes a good point here. And yet, Pat, I would like you, if you forget everything else about me, which maybe you will and want to, but if you only remember one thing, the only reason I did not give up on Bigfoot because I thought it was a bunch of BS going on, and I thought these people are all crazy. I stumbled upon your panel with Nikki, and I thought, these are thinking people. Had that not happened, I think it was the first time I watched one of your panels, by the way. If that had not happened, I would have just gone down that road of these people have lost their marbles. I'm just done. I'm done. There's no common sense in here. So we might not put out 10 fires, but what if you spark understanding in 3 people? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
I think so.
We wouldn't have JC right now, if we hadn't done that, hadn't been on Squatch Talk talking whatever we're talking.
Yeah, and having those type of discussions that we really couldn't have, 4, 5, 6 years ago because you were, you're labeled a bad person, a troll, just for bringing up these type of realistic discussions. And it's really, it's comforting to know that these conversations could be had, because, from this is when, we're planting the seed for all these people coming into it to be successful, because they're going to have a good direction on a good path that's more true to what's going on versus somebody's, fictitious reality.
So
Yeah, JC, go ahead.
Thomas, tell us about the inmates running the asylum again and herding cats. Because what we just heard, that the herding cats part is what's identifiable with what's just been talked about.
Well,
I asked that question before because I saw JC bring it up one time on some show or other about making a platform with Facebook pages and YouTubes, and just like we're doing now anyway, individually, but doing it as supporting each other on the same platform. And God, I lost my train of thought. I don't believe
you just answered your own question too.
Now Leon would say that. He'd say, Jerry, you just answered your own question. Shut up.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like what JC said a little while ago, and it's never a wasted effort to have even a little response of truth and common sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth the effort. Yeah.
And as far as what Brent was saying, if I may continue, Nikki, or do you have?
Yeah, no, continue, because now I lost what I was going to ask next.
Oh, sorry. So to Brent's point about people going out doing research and is this real, is this not? Because we could all goof ourselves up. Believe me, I've made my mistakes in this life. It was very painful. So one of the things I know from industry, because I'm in the human healthcare research since 1992, 93. And here's the deal. If you self-certify, you tend to end up with a lot of problems. Why? Because your brain fills in for all the reasons we have. There's cognitive bias. There's, hey, it's too much work. If I cut this corner, it's okay. No one will know. All these things start coming up. What one needs is a network of honest people with all the people treating each other respectfully, regardless of viewpoint, because we all deserve respect, regardless of whether we agree. So you have to have, you have to actually acquire mature people who understand that, who can disagree without getting into a huff, because we are all going to be wrong at some point. God knows I've made my mistakes. There's no joking. So I look back and think, oh my God, you're still alive. It's a miracle. Just that. So I would say, people should not be self-certifying. They should, in my opinion, we shouldn't say, hey, I think this is Bigfoot, but maybe not, right? The out, but maybe not, and throw it up online. But if you're someone who's a thinking person and Brent, or Pat, or Steve from Curious Cryptid, or yourself, Thomas, or Jerry, and Nikki, you guys all know vastly more than I do about this subject. But I know data, right? And I know data acquisition. And so the thing is, you check in with someone that you know well enough that you can trust their opinion and that you can have a respectful conversation regardless of the results. That's real science. Yeah?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because, we're discussing here the ails of the internet. In real life, away from the internet, I have about 4 or 5 go-to guys when it comes to Sasquatch investigations or anything else. And we have our own opinions about things, and we basically agree with each other on most things. And hey, that's good enough for me. I got those 4 or 5 guys backing me up, When it comes to the internet, I don't know. They're 2 different animals altogether, the internet and real life. The internet, you got to play it by its own rules that you don't necessarily play in your own life when you're dealing face to face with people.
Walking the halls of the asylum can be a scary thing.
Ooh, yes. But, I don't know. I don't know if is it worth the effort? Shall we play devil's advocate here and say, is it worth the effort to worry about all of those thousands out there on the internet and what they think or don't think about Sasquatch or Bigfoot or people who research it or anything else.
I don't think, I think it's just presenting evidence for the right people to get a hold of, and having that outlet for people that we never had coming in. I think that's the most important thing. You're not going to change everybody. We're not going to get everybody on the Bigfoot community on the same page, on the same path, because that's never going to happen. We just have to understand that and start our own path and, on the right direction, and have that be the way to go. And the people who are on the other path, they can join us if they want, but we're not going to really waste time on trying to get them over to our path, because that's a journey they're going to have to take for themselves. But while we're on our path, we should also point out the people who are being deceitful to others that are keeping them on the different paths too. So it's multitasking.
I love that. I love that because that's what started me doing this, is that it's pay it forward time. I had my 20 years or so, doing the ups and downs and ins and outs and everything else. There's a lot of people coming up behind me. I just try to pave the way for them to make it a little easier for them. And that's why I'm on the internet. Otherwise, why would I be on the internet? Because if I came across Sasquatch evidence, this would be the last place I would ever come to present it. I'll be on the phone to Meldrum or somebody. I wouldn't be coming here on the internet.
Right.
Absolutely. The only reason I'm on the internet is because friends of mine, and Jerry's one of them, dragged me kicking and screaming on it.
I did.
Yeah, and it was so great to get you on the internet too, because it's like, God, we really need Thomas in this day and age of Bigfooting, a voice of reason that makes sense, that's established. And here you finally showed up, thanks to Steve Coles helping make that happen. And so we're very fortunate to have you, online to talk and to share your insight and stories. We're truly blessed with this. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Brett. But to me, I crave a simpler time, and that was the whole reason why I tended to avoid the internet for so long. Because I couldn't
living in denial.
Even before I was on it, I knew the asylum and the inmates running the asylum were taking it over. I mean, it's just everywhere, and there's really no getting around to it. All you can do is confront it when you see it, and give a rational explanation and give a rational opinion, and well, it's basically up to them whether or not they want to listen or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to make a decision.
Yeah.
What road you're going to go down. If you're just going to listen to everybody, when when you see something and it's not what they're saying, it's a tree, it's not a Bigfoot, okay, that type of situation. Are you going to say something? Because too many researchers, searchers, enthusiasts just turn a blind eye and don't say anything, so that it keeps perpetrating over and over and over again.
Yeah,
because
and
we get so political in the Bigfoot community, we're too afraid to say anything because people are going to hate me, They're going to not follow me. They're not going to push like and subscribe.
And trying to do it in a way where they're not put on the defensive and get defensive automatically. Like when they give you a photograph with something circled and arrows pointing to it, and they're trying to tell you what you're looking at.
Right.
The old faces in the clouds type situation.
Right. I've had many people who I will send me your stuff. Let me see. So they'll send it to me, and I kindly look at it, and they keep sending stuff, and you finally have to say, okay, that's enough. Don't send me anymore.
Yeah.
I've seen enough.
Yeah. And
it's like, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be like, no, you're full of crap, but I've seen enough. You showed me. I'm not going to go, share your stuff you privately shared to me, but you move on. You just move on in a lot of cases. Now, what I'm doing here with all these hoaxes, this has already been out here for years. And the same photos keep coming up over and over and over. And nobody's jumping in and saying, that's this hoax. That's what I want people to do. Just say it. That is this hoax. And there are places to go and find information. There's squatchopedia.org, which has a whole listing of hoaxes that have been substantiated with evidence that you can go and look up, and it will take you forever. I mean, I've got lists and lists of hoaxes that have been perpetrated on our community. Videos, footprints, movies, where they're taking the screenshots from movies and putting that Bigfoot on there. So we just have to say something. People need to step up and not be afraid of saying something, because we didn't used to. I remember the time where people weren't, like you said, Thomas, so critical. I mean, they didn't get so offended, when you said, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
be
the thing with the shadows in the trees or the faces in the clouds type thing, and try to point out to them without them giving it. I mean, as evidence, it's basically rendered useless, even if it was a Sasquatch.
Right.
Because anytime you have to tell somebody what they're looking at, and what you're looking at is open to interpretation as evidence. It's just gone out the window.
Is gone.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was just going to say, Lester. Bigfooting has caused the shortage of red markers. I mean, if you have to circle your photo to tell me where the Bigfoot is, then don't bother.
Yeah. Well, Bigfoot evidence doesn't need to be explained. I mean, we don't need to have somebody explain it to try and convince others. The good Bigfoot evidence that we need is going to stand on its own legs. It's going to explain itself. It doesn't need anybody to defend it. That's the Bigfoot evidence that we all need to strive to get. And all that, anything below that, it's just, it's just people's interpretation, and just kind of move on from it.
Right. Well, and keep in mind that it's very easy to become offended from behind a keyboard and a screen, because you don't have to be a whole person, and you don't have to be reasonable. You don't have to be responsible for your actions, and you're not going to be held accountable. So it's very easy for people to get angry and act out in all these ways. I just figure if someone's going to be nasty with me, they've chosen their path. That's awesome. It's good that I know now, right?
Yeah.
It's good. I can, cut bait now. And so that's why I talk, about being respectful, because you could you could ask me a tough question and I can answer you, and both sides be respectful. And there's just a general problem on the internet of lack of respect and lack of accountability for one's actions.
Mm-hmm. You're right, Robert. Some hold on to evidence as true.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at that Bigfoot tree. I mean, it's pretty obvious it's the branch. There's no Bigfoot underneath there, but people still choose to believe it. They look at that branch and be like, nah, that dude's insane. Let's go talk to the Bigfoot underneath the tree. I mean, so you could show people the evidence straight to their face, and they'll still choose to disbelieve, to believe whatever they want. And, that's just really what it is in this subject, is they're going to hold on to it no matter how much you can convince them. That's why it's just like, you just present what you have, and then if they don't want to believe it, just like, oh, that's fine, and just kind of move on and let it go.
Yeah, and Pat from Squatch Talk the other day, you said something, a question about what do you do when people are frustrated. My answer was, accept where they are. If they're frustrated or angry or whatever, the first thing you have to do is accept that's where they are. If it ends up that you guys are not on the same path, perfectly okay. Part ways. But but give them good information and tell them how it is. And if as Brent points out, but if they can't accept it or they're upset or whatever, guess what? That's on them. Just the same way as my behavior as an adult is on me. If someone else doesn't want to believe in reality, okay, where they are, right? And there's a lot of people who are not mature enough to be in reality. It's just, it's a sad situation right now.
I come across those people, and they're funny. The people who get so upset, no matter how big of the kid gloves you use with them to talk to them, they're always going to get upset and name calling. And I just find them very entertaining. I don't get upset with them. They're just very, they're just really established in belief, and we just have to understand that's what we're kind of, you know, what a lot of the mentality is, and we just have to understand it to better navigate it and understand who's not on our side going down our path, and you know, which will keep us stronger together going down one road for it.
Mm-hmm. And you know, one thing that I've noticed is that people want to hate right away. You know, it's, oh God, they're a hoaxer, I hate them, but I don't like what they're doing, and I don't condone what they're doing, but the person, you know, he's just doing whatever he's doing. I don't care. I'm going to try to move on from that, but I want other people to know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to get forth, because I know everybody's gone through the cycle, the Bigfoot cycle. You know, I know they come in one end and they're excited, and then they move around to another one and they get blown away because somebody tells them that's fake. And then they get disheartened and they're looking for something, you know, they want to believe in. Now, I'm not talking about the knowers, because you're a whole different group. You know, you've had one up to your face, and nobody will ever take that away from you. Not me, not anybody. But those of us who are believers and have not seen one, you know, we're grasping at whatever we can to prove to us that, you know, they're really out there. And it goes through that cycle. And I reached a cycle, a part of that telling me that I've heard enough stories. For me, they all sound the same. Mm-hmm. And this was a conversation I had with Leon, where they all have the same components. You know, you're out walking or hiking, you are doing something else, and there's the Bigfoot, and this is how you felt about it, and this is what you smelled about it, and this is where you're at. And they all go along the same line. So although I will listen to anybody who wants me to listen to their story, I'm not going out there and searching for stories anymore, because they all are the same to me now. They're all rather the same.
It's that buffet.
And yeah, you know, so that's why I'm moving on further. You know, now then I reach this critical thinking spot where, why are they doing that? What are we gonna, you know, what does that mean? How do we do that? What more questions came about where I never had those before. I just wanted to visually, I wanted to see a Bigfoot. I want somebody to show it to me. And now I'm on the other end where, well, this is what I've learned so far. Take it or leave it. You know, I'm just another channel, but I'm just gathering information. This isn't my information. This is all of your guys' information. You know? So what do I do with that? You know, hope that people listen to me or want to listen or want to hear the rest of the story. That's what it's come to.
I only have a problem with the phrase believer. I'm not a believer. I have never been a believer, and I never will be a believer, because if it comes out that there is such a creature, I won't have to believe anymore. It's there in front of me. But I remember the first time I ever spoke to John Green, and I asked him a question. I don't recall, but his answer was, well, in the first place, I'm not a believer. That's a very bad terminology to use about this subject, because he was referring to the fact that there is only evidence, and that's it. It's not a matter of belief that there is a creature or a belief that there is no creature. If you're a skeptic, it still comes down to the same narrow line of evidence, no matter which side you're on. So it gets tough when you start putting names on things.
Yeah. Well, belief comes with a lot of baggage too, a lot of biases, and that's why it's good. I personally don't believe or not believe. I'm really kind of agnostic when it comes to Bigfoot, where I really need to see the evidence, really Bigfoot himself, to really kind of truly believe. It's not that I reject all this evidence. It's I take it and you know, accept it for what it is, but I can't verify it. And for me, the only thing I can do to verify it is to go see one.
Yeah,
it's really an odd twist of events, because back when I started in the 70s, it was a handful of people trying to convince everybody that there is such a creature as the Sasquatch. But you look at the people we're basically complaining about, they're already converted. We accomplished a mission. They believe in the Sasquatch. Mission accomplished with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, and here we are basically saying, oh, no, don't believe this, don't believe that, don't believe all kinds of weird and wonderful things that get put before you automatically. Because, like I said, a true researcher is trying to prove whether or not something is there or not. And that means exposing things that are not just as much as it is proving things are.
Well, I think even proving something also can carry an inherent bias as well, and of sorts. And finding out is the way to go, you know, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How about being open to evolving a little bit? You know, because I mean, I went from flesh and blood animal, which I still 98% believe, but I'm also open to, as we discussed before, I'm not close-minded to the idea of not paranormal, but one little flying saucer I'll put into the mix, and that's it. You know, just for the sake to prove I'm open-minded, I'll allow one little flying saucer into a story. But yeah,
well, I mean, we should.
I mean, we've been doing the same thing for so many decades, and nothing is happening. Maybe we're asking the wrong questions.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's more the fact that question number one is still unanswered. Is there or is there not a species that we call Sasquatch?
Well, it's answered for some, unfortunately not for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then they have a problem with that.
That's what I was saying, like earlier, the people we were trying to convince 20 years ago, we did. I feel like sometimes I'm the bishop of the pulpit condemning the people who listened to me 20 years ago because they accept the existence of Sasquatch. You know, and that's really, really strange when you think about it. We've come full circle. And now people who look at this mystery with a sense of science and common sense are trying to convince people, don't believe everything you see.
Yeah,
don't believe everything that's told you.
Yeah, there's too much of a belief in Bigfoot right now, with everybody able to create their own narrative, and whatever type of Bigfoot you want, somebody created it and can go out there. The viewers can go out there and get that dopamine hit. You know, it's like going to church. Watching a video is like going to church, and very similar.
Yeah.
Well, I think when people get into the paranormal or the supernormal or the UFO thing or whatever, I think there is a sense of desperation, because once again, that says, okay, well, it's not a physical animal. Now they're going to switch their certainty, because it's need for certainty. Oh, it's because of this. And that's that, you know, that fear of uncertainty, which I talk about. And a lot of people have it. And by the way, all of life is uncertain, except for we're all going to pass away someday. The rest of it is all uncertain. And so, you know, it's really helpful to learn to deal with uncertainty. If you, and most people who are trained as scientists, because so much of science fails, right? You do all this testing and all these experiments because guess what? You're going to fail 95% of the time or more doing science, if you're actually doing exploratory science. And the reality is you have to become okay with uncertainty, or else you become bitter. Or you go into these weird ideas that regardless of what the facts are, it's what I want, and so it's true. It's kind of like, and this is a dangerous phrase, but I'll stick with it, is my God, my way, right? So it's a complicated thing, because most of the Bigfoot phenomena is not about facts. It's not about a potential large mammal that we don't know about on this continent or any continent. It is about human behavior. The vast majority of the Bigfoot phenomena is human behavior. There's not that many people really going out there and doing substantial research.
I agree with you. Yeah, a lot of what you see in Bigfoot investigation right now is weekend warriors. You know, people like me. You don't get. There's nobody out there that can stay out there weeks on end anymore to really do what probably needs to be done to take the next step. I mean, nobody has that opportunity anymore. We don't live in a world like that.
No, we have to make a living. People have to make a living, and you know, unfortunately, that's 40 plus hours a week.
Well, I mean,
Doesn't
if you
leave
have
much
an
time.
interest in this, does it really matter how much time you spend out? It's not how much time you spend out in the bush, in my opinion. It's what you accomplish while you're out there. I mean, you can. Years ago, Rick Knoll said, and others, that the way to go about it is not go looking for Sasquatch. You go find your own little area. You investigate that area, you get to know that area, and hopefully someday you'll find a footprint and you know that you have a Sasquatch in your area. And then you can base everything onto that.
So then, Jerry, do you think we will find Bigfoot in the next 5-10 years?
No, I don't believe so. If we could do that, we would have done it 50 years ago. There's no difference. I mean, the internet hasn't changed anything really. It's just a lot more talk from a lot more people about a lot more subjects that really aren't kicking the ball down the road at all. I don't think so, because I think we're asking the wrong questions. And don't ask me what are the right questions, because I don't know. If I knew that, I'd know where there'd be a Sasquatch sitting on a stump right now thinking about humans, But no, I think something's got to change. Something has got to change to shake the whole thing upside down. And we start anew on a new paradigm or whatever. But that's just me.
We should restart our investigation into the phenomenon to find out what's real, what's not. And I encourage everybody looking into this to do that. Restart your investigation. Yes. Start from scratch. Yes. No biases. You're going to get a lot quicker answers that way. And the more we, put that mindset out there for people to understand, a lot of these channels will start doing that. And maybe those channels will be the ones that are going to get the evidence that we need to prove the Bigfoots do exist.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
it's all a different way of saying stick to the facts and never deviate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And never, ever hoax.
Thou shalt not hoax.
There's a special place in hell for those who do.
Yeah, and if you're wrong about something, it's okay to come out and say, hey, I was wrong about this, to walk it back.
Yes.
That's okay. I have more respect for people who do that than don't, when you know that they won't walk it back because they have their ego that they have to protect, their persona that they created for themselves. They don't want that damaged by saying, oh, hey, I was wrong. But
hell, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. I've been wrong so many times in the past. It's not funny. I was wrong about defending Paul Freeman a lot longer. I was wrong about red eye reflection. I was wrong about a lot of things. But unlike a lot of people, when I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it. I was wrong.
Hey, can I ask you about the Paul Freeman thing? Were you hesitant about going that route with him by understanding he was not being honest with you because you had a friendship with him and a relationship with him? Do you think that might have gotten in the way of your final conclusion?
For many years, I didn't think he was like me. Paul Freeman, as a human being, was an excellent example of what you wish everybody was like. If the world was filled with Paul Freemans, the world would be a better place. And I believed him when he gave his first encounter in the Blue Mountains there back in 1982. I believed him and I defended him a lot longer than I should have. But other fellows who I was friends and colleagues with, namely one, Rennie DeHinden, told me, go talk to Aden. Go talk to this guy. Go talk to that guy. You will learn something. Get the rocks out of your head. And that's what I did. And I did. And I listened and I learned. And I hate to say it, but as far as I'm concerned, Paul Freeman, when it came to this subject, was a major sufferer of what I politely referred to as Ivan Mark syndrome. And for those who don't know who I'm talking about there, Ivan Marks was the first example of this I ever knew. Someone who may have been involved in something serious once and is the center of attention. But when that attention dies down, the attention was more important than the subject. So they started hoaxing to remain the center of attention. I call it Ivan Marks syndrome. And in my opinion, Paul Freeman was a classic example of that. The latest example of that is one Todd Standing, in my opinion. Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that.
Well, may I ask a question about the famous who we were just not
Paul Freeman?
Paul Freeman video?
Yeah.
Because I think, Nikki, you have some support of that. I gotta tell you, it's the goofiest thing I've ever seen, and I just can't even watch it. So I'd love to see you and Thomas talk about that, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, I had support of it only after I heard Dr. Meldrum talking about some stuff about that area. And am I doing that, or is that Gary? So that's where I liked it. I liked the footage. You know, I think I got swept up in him like I've gotten in many. I'm not any different from anybody else wanting to believe in some of these videos that are out there.
Well, you're kind of forced to believe into it in a way. You're ostracized if you go against the Freeman film. If you're like, oh, I don't think that's real, I'm ostracized. Oh, same here. Yeah, but there's that protection that makes it hard for people to notice those red flags, to really think different about it, because of everybody's drilling into you. It's real that you shouldn't think otherwise.
Well, I kind of heard both sides of the story, at that time, but I had never heard. See, I have respect for Dr. Meldrum, and when I heard his side of the story, he pushed me back on the other side. So I keep doing this teeter-totter, but then I met Thomas Steenberg and I started listening to his stuff, and then he teetered me back the other way, So that's what happens in this community, but that's what we need. We need people to ask questions and go, oh, okay, never mind, or okay, never mind on this side, or that's okay.
And what convinced me, Brent, about the Freeman case is they told me to talk to the people he worked with, and I did. And I talked to Arden, who's the track expert who was brought in to look into the track suspension. And I heard, which sounds like Jerry's wrestling with his mic again.
He's got a Bigfoot. He's got one.
He's got one. He's wrestling. But and they told me that Paul had nothing from the day he started that job, talked about nothing but Sasquatch from day one. I had 15 guys who did the same route Freeman did every day. Never saw a thing. The first day Paul Freeman goes out, he sees a Sasquatch. Okay. Now I can't prove, and people say, what about his film? And first my action is, which one? He's known for two. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people haven't seen the first one. But I'm convinced both films is his son Dwayne in a suit. And Dwayne is also, as a human being, a very nice man. And great, but I think he helped his father out in a bit of their dramatics, shall we say. And I'm convinced the Freeman footage is his son Dwayne in a suit. But that's just my opinion. You can agree with me or not. It's up to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the more you learn about it, the fact that Paul Freeman admitted that he hoaxed tracks.
He did on several occasions.
Yeah, and
even turned in doll hair and tried to pass it off as Sasquatch at one point.
I didn't know that one.
Now you said that. I never heard that one.
Yeah, that's the first time I heard that too. But it goes to show you, the more you learn about something, the more you investigate it, the more you dig deep into it, you might find more information to help lead you if something's real or not. And Paul Freeman's another good case of it, because the more you dig into it, the more that film starts to lose its magic, and it's like, yeah, that's probably not real.
And hence my show, to bring stuff like this out to people so that they know more information.
Well,
I'm not going to have all the information. There's people have little tidbits. I want to know those tidbits.
We need to have a historical sense of where we came from, and so we know where we're going. And the more we know, especially the people coming in, know about how things were, the hoaxes that were going on, the better we can navigate going forward. And so talking about stuff and highlighting stuff like this really helps us with that in that regards, and helps us sharpen our tools, because we're constantly, challenging and looking at things differently and talking about and discussing these type of hoaxes.
Hey, I feel we're going in the right direction. I'm seeing a lot of different people thinking outside the box.
Yeah, it's getting,
with
there's more and more.
Pat Turner and his drones, and Matt with his kayak, and everybody has something to contribute.
Exactly.
But we need it all. We need all of it.
Yeah, there's not one go-to person. Everybody collectively together is going to help each other be successful, and that's what's kind of forming in this group, which I've never seen before. This type of the collaboration and working together with this understanding. We now have a safe space, I guess you can say, to really kind of talk about it and really expand on it and get other people, discussing it and talking about it. And this is, it's really, it's a really good time. I'm very optimistic about the future going forward on us collecting better evidence and, coming to better conclusions.
Right.
Well, and not just about this subject, you guys. We really need to know more about forest science. We really need to know more about our environment so that we could do a better job taking care of it, because we've made some really big mistakes. Look at the fires. They thought they were doing a good thing, and it's all blown up, and now we're in a heck of a mess. And so we really need people to kind of wake up, and to Thomas saying early, we got to keep learning and growing all the time. And I think Pat Turner was saying something about politics. And I'll say this about politics. You got two people in the room, you got politics. And here's the thing. If you're going to behave badly towards me because you don't like what I say, that's about you. That's not about me. And I really don't care anything. And this is not about Pat, because I like Pat. But in general, people talk about Bigfoot politics. Who, as an adult who makes their own living, who pays their own bills, who pays their own mortgage, why the flippin' Friday do you care about politics? Why? Tell the truth, be respectful. Let go of this idea that other people's politics dictate how you think. Your life will be so much happier. So much happier. This whole idea that there's Bigfoot politics is really kind of silly. You're letting someone who you think has more esteem or more followers or is better known dictate how you behave in your own life. Oh, no. This is not healthy adult behavior. And anybody who tries to put you under their truck because you don't play their game in the way they see fit to get them more followers or more subscribers or more whatever, they sell more trips or whatever the crap they're doing. Don't do it. Don't buy into it. Be yourself. Go on a learning journey. Become a better adult. That's what all of this should be, no matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're, if you're doing some hobby at home. I don't care if you have a special job that brings you a lot of esteem. You should always be learning, and you should always grow into a better person than you were a day ago. That's what we're really here for, Bigfoot or not.
Right. I'm well aware. Oh, Thomas?
Oh, I was just saying, well said. I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely.
Yes. I was going to say, I'm well aware that bringing this type of show and this kind of content is going to get me people not liking that,
They're not going to like you no matter what you do.
Yeah, I just be who you are and let the cards fall. I mean, that's why
I can't tell you how many texts I got this week saying, "Oh my God, you're brave." Who are you going to talk about? Who's on your first show? Who's going to be on the second? What are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about this and this and this?
Don't let it bother you, Nikki. There are people in the asylum sticking pins in Nikki dolls right now. And
oh yeah, ow, right there.
Don't let it bother you.
Well, it's comical that people take so offensive trying to get you to stop to talk about people hoaxing. It's like, I find that astonishing. It's like, who are you? I mean, it's like you want to stop a discussion that's valuable and try and downplay, say it's not. You know, it's just it's baffling. You know, I personally don't care. That's why I openly go bring up stuff like the Wes Germer hoax and all that stuff, just because, you know, hey, it's a hoax. It's not my fault. He lied and stuff. And
there are going to be a lot of topics people aren't going to like. There's going to be topics. If you're a follower,
well,
then,
they get that emotional attachment to people.
You know, you're attached. It's okay. Move on. Don't watch my show. I'm not asking you to violate your, you know, homage to whoever you follow. But if it's out there and there's evidence, then it's fair game. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that I don't agree with. A lot.
And if you're going to put up a roadblock, you know, you're just going to get ran over at this point. I mean, this is what's going on now is a train that's not going to be stopped by you saying, stop, don't talk about it. It's going to hurt feelings and stuff. I would get off the train track if I was you and stay silent, because you're going to get ran over and it's going to be bad.
Well, and the thing is that also the flip side is, you know, because if you like, one of you guys want to talk to me about hoax, which you are, like, again, you're so much better informed about this than myself. If you wanted to tell me that, that would be fine. Where a problem might begin is if you force me into a corner and say, I'm going to force feed you my thoughts about this. But nobody, I hope, is doing that here. Right.
And just present the facts.
Yeah. You know, and if somebody says, okay, I've heard it. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm done. Then we have to respect that as well.
They can get off the train and go on their own merry way, you know.
And also, Nikki, when someone attacks you on a certain subject, you just hit them back with the facts, and they'll either come back with counter arguments, or but they'll get to the point where they're insulting you or calling you names. You've won the argument right at that point. Yeah, because they got nothing to come back with. Then they turn to personal insults. You've just won the fight.
That's why you should never make it. Never make it personal. Never attack individuals, you know, in a way that they could use that as ammo to later attack you and not attack what you're presenting. So that's a fine line right there to walk.
Yeah, it sure is.
I think the thing is, Nikki, too, you have to realize, I'm sure you do realize that you've been around the block a few times, that many people are here tonight to congratulate you and support you and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But there's a faction also here, too, looking to figure out what you're all about. What is it about you that I can hate and despise? And I will spread it all over the internet tomorrow morning. Did you get a load of her show last night and who she had on and what they were talking about? Who the hell do they think they are to be able to talk about us like that? And I think that's amazing, because they identify with who you're talking about. You know, they know you're talking about them.
No, people out themselves. Yeah. They out themselves and don't even realize it.
Well,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Isn't that okay, though? I mean, if they're angry, that's okay too. I keep thinking, Nikki, and please forgive me, I hope you made up an email just for this show. Please, God, say you did.
Actually, it is my regular email.
Oh, God. Like it out, because we're going to get the goofy people who want to just be mean. So,
hey, anybody wants to be goofy and mean, you guys can send your emails to me. I will gladly read them and laugh at you.
Okay,
I will laugh at you. Yeah. Put my, I'll be send all the hate to me, because I find it incredibly hilarious.
Nobody ever sends me email. I got 4 different email addresses. They're all empty. Fill them up.
All my stuff goes to spam anyway. So,
hey, Nikki, if things get that bad, you can always come up to British Columbia. We'll take you.
Oh, great!
That's we're gonna have her back every step of the way.
It's good. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's just coming together and talking about things that have happened, and knowing that we want to support the good stuff, you know, and try to get the bad stuff out of the way.
Hey, you know, if it wasn't for all the bad stuff, all these hoaxers, I would have more of a, you know, when people present their evidence, I would have more belief or whatever in what they're saying. But since I've come into this subject and I've encountered hoax after hoax and liar, misidentification, blah, 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 it's just, it really turned the subject sour. And so it's important we get those people out of the subject and get them recognized, so the people coming in and the rest of us can, not have to deal with that. And,
yeah, you're right. And there's a lot of people who call people hoaxers and they're not. And that's another whole issue in itself. You have to have evidence before you go and start calling people out on stuff. Have something to show, that something's not right. You can't. I mean, I look at pictures, and if I see a tree, I'm going to call it a tree. If you're going on and posting it over and over saying, this was the Sasquatch I saw and it's a tree, then I'm going to say, no, that's a tree. Kind of like if it quacks.
Yeah, that's very important. That's very important, Nikki, because you got to be honest. You got to, try to get them to hold their skepticism bar up at least close to yours, or you guys have nothing in common. There's nothing for you to debate or talk about or anything else. And
well, I think it's us developing the tools for people to learn to better investigate this subject themselves, so they don't have to be told what's Bigfoot evidence or not. They'll have those tools, and that's what I tried to get the discussion towards and focus on is better understanding what's going on in the subject by seeing there is actually hoaxing going on at the highest level, and so we could better understand it and not fall for it and stuff. Better identify it.
And I understand that there's a lot of people out there researching and they don't have their evidence, but they're researching. Let them do their thing. Mm-hmm. Let them go out there every day. And if they say, yeah, I came and I saw this, I saw that, fine. There's going to be a time where maybe they come back and say, I got something for you to look at. Because all that, when Bigfoot does come to science, okay, type or whatever, science, and the whole world knows, all that stuff's going to count.
Yep. Every bit of that
it's part of research.
For science.
It'll all count. For right now, just save it, love it. It's yours. You don't have to share everything.
Yeah, well, they could share it. They could share it, but not have to be so emotionally attached to it, because in sharing it, they might realize, hey, this wasn't actually Bigfoot evidence. I was wrong.
The minute it goes public, you're subject to criticism.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem.
I think how it's presented, though, if I come out, let's say I get this, I go out and film something or get audio, and I come out and post a video saying, hey, I got Bigfoot audio, blah, blah, blah. That's going to get the criticism. But if I come out and say, hey, what are you guys' thoughts about this audio I collected? Is it Bigfoot or not?
Right on.
There you go. It's how it's presented. The evidence is presented is the key.
Yep, it's all in the presentation.
At Nikki on Facebook, somebody said on Bigfoot Believers accused my people of smoking pot and such, and said we hallucinate, saying we see hairy ones, seeing Sasquatch. Ooh, I was livid.
Yeah, people say a lot of different stuff.
There's a lot of nasty people out there.
Yeah, it's not even in Bigfoot. It's everywhere. You go anywhere on social media, you're going to get those negative, terrible comments that are like, wow, that person woke up on the wrong side of the bed. What we need to do is just recognize that and just be like, just laugh at it and just kind of move on. You don't need to defend yourself if you truly believe in what you're saying and doing
I'm critical. I have always said I'm critical on evidence. I don't believe in tree structures. I'm sorry. There's nothing, nobody's shown me anything of a Bigfoot piling up some branches. Nobody.
Can you do a show on that?
So
because I can't
move on
to those at all. I can't.
I move on.
Can you do a show on those?
Yeah, we can talk about that. We can put something in on that.
You and I discussed that, Nikki, about tree structures and everything. Yeah. And I said to you at the time, I'm going to get in touch with the expert on the subject, and I did. And I said to her, were you the one that started the thing about the tree structures and nests and everything? And she said, maybe. And we're talking about Hairyman down in Sonora. And she, in the 2000. I thought it was in the late 90s, but she said no, it was in 2001 in Sonora, in the forest that she operates in as a part of the government. She came across a nest, and she flippantly, well, offhandedly said, this could have something to do with Bigfoot. Well, and she left it at that. Within 2 years, as you know, Thomas, there wasn't a documentary on TV or in a theater that didn't have nest as definite proof of Sasquatch.
Well, of course, it was the same with the twisted trees. That was just a hypothesis put forward by the late Bob Titmus in the late 1960s. But by the time the mid-'80s rolled around, every documentary that came on television said twisted trees was a sign left by Sasquatch. Well, that was never established. It was just a theory. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The same with the nest. It was just an offhand remark. And of course, everybody jumped on her because she was very famous and said, this is it. It's, gospel. That's it, boys,
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is that if you want to believe that, fine. But don't, push it on others that don't believe in it. Just move on to something you do believe, Yeah. I mean, we have tons of prints. Do I think they're all Bigfoot prints? No, I do not. But I believe some of them are. And that's all it takes is the one, that's real. That one photo that's real.
Yeah.
And
I don't know which one it is. I don't know.
And if just one is real, then the Sasquatch at least did exist.
Right.
Yeah.
So we move on.
Yeah, it's getting us the tools to that point there.
Look what time it is. Oh my goodness. What a great way to end. So final words, Jerry?
Eat healthy, don't smoke, don't drink, lead a boring lifetime, and you'll die young anyway. I don't know. Hey, it's been a hoot, Nikki. I mean, thank you for getting in touch with me and twisting my arm and saying,
I had to really do it hard
over here. Yeah, really hard. And say, come on. I need somebody to sit and be a seat filler for when someone has to go use the bathroom. We can make you sit in their block.
The official.
So it looks like it's busy here. I loved it. Loved it. Great show. Great show.
Thank you. JC.
Brent, nice meeting you, Brent.
You too.
Yeah. And JC, your aces as usual. Thomas, Enough said.
Well, thank you for allowing me to participate and share my viewpoints. I would like to ask folks who are watching or watching in the future, please do comment and subscribe. Support Nikki in her effort. And when it comes back around to Nikki, I really always like to know what people see as next steps, because that tells me a lot about their perspective. So before we go, if you would tell us about what you think next steps are for this show, and for people who are new to the Bigfoot world and want to learn more, I would really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to address that now. My next step from this is that I want it to grow. I want people to know that they have a place to come to find answers to their questions. Okay. They're suspect. They have red flags. They see something. I want them to be able to come somewhere where maybe they can go back in not all my videos. Maybe there's one video in here that they want to know more about, and they can come and find that answer. Look at it, and it would be great if I could see that grow and be that place where people can come, or somebody will say, hey, go here, go to Hairyman and see if you can find, this video. And they explain a lot of stuff. They explain all these different things that happened during that time, and make your own decision. If you still think that Anders photo's real, well then, okay, that's all I can do. Is to put the information out there for you to come and see. and have a little fun, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, talk some critical thinking and ask questions and push stuff around. And it's different. I'm not talking about the research. I'm not talking about, you know, all that. That is special. That's something different. And I think we needed someplace to vent. And I'll be that place. You know, if you want to come and vent about something on my chat, you can come do that. And let me know what you want to see. You know, you can contact me through Bigfoot Weekly.
And once she gets her new email, use the new email.
Okay.
Yeah, start
another new email.
Start archiving, Nikki. Start archiving. It would be great if someone could come to your website and say, well, did Nikki ever cover this subject? And be able to look at the notes underneath the video and say, yeah, she talked about, his name is right here. Mm-hmm. So let's dig that one up.
I had to keep it off and now because I was kind of keeping the suspense, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't want, but I will be putting the names of whoever we talk about on there or in the description from now on. Yeah. And thank you, JC. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Brent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot the question. Final thoughts. Well, thanks for having us on and help creating this discussion. And anybody out there that's watching this that has a question about footage or evidence or anything like that, put it in the comments below, and maybe it'll create a good discussion in the comments, or it will be interesting enough that it will get discussed on air as well. So I think it's all about creating the helpful, healthy discussions and be respectful to each other and not get emotionally attached to the evidence that's being presented or the researchers that are presenting it, because that might create an inherent bias with it. And that's about it.
Great. Yes.
Darn,
yes,
he should have his own website.
Mr.
You should think about that, Brent. You should think about that.
No, it's I promote the other people who got that stuff in place, and that's the way to go.
Thomas.
Well, what I personally hope that people get from Hairyman, Hoaxes, and Hoodwinks is that a healthy dose of skepticism and common sense is the best quality a researcher can have. And always remember to stick to the facts and never deviate from the facts.
Yes, I agree. Thank you again, everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for coming and supporting me on my first. It's over. It's almost over.
You wasted it.
And so with that, I want to ask if you could please subscribe, hit that like button, hit the bell. Let me know you want to come back, and I'll put out some more stuff next week. And I'm going to leave you all with a little something on the way out. I'm going to move everybody to the back. Bye-bye, my friends. And we will see you guys next week.
Oh, yeah.